Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about SUI because there's something that I'm noticing within like the SUI chart that no one is really talking about, and I think this is honestly really dangerous for new crypto investors in particular, because I just know how this ends, and it ends with many of them getting wrecked. And so I want to talk about it today because I just want to kind of inform you guys and make sure you're aware of some of the risks that we're seeing on that chart. And obviously this is not to say like don't invest in SUI, and honestly like I probably will be buying some potentially if we see a decent pullback, but this is more of like a PSA to not marry your bags and just be very careful if you do, because I think this is how a lot of people can potentially get burned. So anyway, let's go on ahead and dive right in. So starting out, I want to check out crypto bubbles just to kind of get an overall sense of the market. And overall, what we can see here is pretty green day overall. I mean, there's a couple reds here and there, but overall, the definite bias on the market is definitely green. We can see, APE and SPX, kind of the two big ones, DYDX being the other. Other than that, everything else is kind of pretty with like normal, I guess you could say, or within like the normal reasons of what we usually see kind of on price action. So overall, everything in the crypto market is looking good. We have been seeing prices pump pretty consistently over the past several weeks, I would say. It definitely does seem like we are in October. This is a little bit surprising to me just because usually when things are so consensus that something like this is going to happen, it usually tends to go the other way. And so this has been, I guess, kind of a nice surprise that things have actually gone the way that we thought it would. So, that's good. What we can see is because of this, we are now sitting in greed. If we look kind of on like the shorter time frame, basically ever since like kind of towards the end of July, we've been sitting kind of in an overall state of, I would say, like a fear biased market. Obviously we saw, a little bit of jumps kind of here and there. But overall, it was pretty like fear based. Now we have kind of stepped up into greed, and we've been there for just shy of about the past week or so. So obviously, we can see prices are going up. Things are starting to look good. The fundamentals kind of are looking better within the chart. Politically, even though the U.S. election hasn't kind of come to pass yet, the odds are looking more and more likely that Trump will get elected, which has generally been kind of seen as a more positive thing for crypto. Even though I think long term it really doesn't matter who actually wins. But short term, at least, that is something that I do think a lot of people are paying attention to. And so this is something that will obviously impact price in the short term. So if you are finding information like this helpful, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me out, kind of get further on in the YouTube algorithm and also reach more people. What we are about to get into is what I would consider to be massively important. A lot of us, I was mainly like a pretty heavy participant in crypto in the last cycle. I did things kind of in the cycle before, but only at like a very high level, like retail, type level. So last time was kind of the first time that I really got into some of these like, 100x type projects and made, I would say, a relatively substantial amount of money on paper. Now, that's kind of the key point that I wanted to get into today, talking about SUIs, because usually when things like this happen, you can make a staggering amount of money. But there is something here looking at the chart that I want you guys to see and be very aware of, because this is where people get burned ultimately, and you'll be giving back all of the gains that you may have made in this cycle, whether it's on SUI or anything else. SUI just seems to be a really good example because it's one that's pumped pretty dramatically within the past couple of months. So, what we can see from price is, it's low, and at the beginning of August was about 53 cents. We've now over 4x that. At this point, we're sitting at $2.13. We were hitting a local top of $2.34, and I think that actually might be an all-time high. Yeah, so that was an all-time high. So, obviously we are close to and hitting new all-time highs. I do think, there is a lot of momentum. There is a lot of, positivity and narrative and a lot of this stuff behind SUI. So it would not surprise me at all if we continue to run. We can see the market cap is 5.8 billion. Honestly, like not a very large market cap by any measure. However, the thing that I do want to always make sure that you guys are aware of is this right here. What we can see here is the fully diluted valuation is 21.2 billion. So this is like the market cap or the actual circulating supply. We can see it here. The actual circulating supply is only about 27% of the total supply, which means the remaining 73% of the supply needs to be unlocked. And unlocks for this actually go into I think it's 2030. So there is going to be a consistent selling pressure on this chart due to unlocks for the next 4 to 6 years, almost, well, I guess maybe closer to 5 years at this point, but like 5 years and 3 months. Like there's a lot of selling pressure coming on this. And so what I mean to say though is I mean, yes, the market cap right now does look very, very good. And it would not surprise me if we continue to hit maybe 20 billion, maybe even 50 billion if things go really, really well. But what we have to remember is, okay, well, if we hit 50 billion, that means the fully diluted valuation is 200 billion. That's like the same market cap as Ethereum, right? If we're going here, we can see the fully diluted market cap is actually more than Doge. And the fully diluted, if it were to hit something crazy like that, I guess wouldn't be quite at the point of Ethereum, but it would be pretty close, right? Now, some of you may say, oh, well, SUI can do 297,000 transactions per second, and it's the ETH killer, and this and that, and whatever else. Yeah, sure, whatever. But like, until we see that SUI actually has staying power and can actually make it through more than one cycle, like, I'll believe it when I see it, right? And so this is one of those things where I think, especially after we kind of top out on this bull market and we head into the next bear market, it would not at all surprise me if we see SUI prices drop 90+%. I mean, we've seen it before. Like, anybody who's surprised that like this could happen, or like who doesn't think this could happen again, frankly, I think maybe you need to have a little bit of a lesson in history before you learn the hard way. Because if we can look here, like, I mean, Solana's done fantastic. They like, this is probably the winner of the bull run, right? If we look at the past year, I mean, $29 to $169 in 1 year's time. Insane. However, let's look at the max. Boom. All the way up. We actually haven't even hit all-time highs. All-time highs were sitting somewhere around like at $250. And then they went from $250 all the way down to lows of like $11. So like, and like, again, we've seen it come back. Solana's technology is good. I think a lot of, like, nobody is going to like cast into doubt the fact that like Solana has proven itself, and it is a chain that's like actually doing good things. And you can say, oh yeah, well, this is partly FTX. Yeah, sure. But like, look at how far it fell. Like, okay, maybe it doesn't hit $11, but maybe it comes all the way back down to 80. Like, there's still like these things that like haven't made it through their first cycle always get crushed just because of the unlocks. We can even see on Solana, the fully diluted valuation is almost $100 billion. I mean, yeah, it's only, it's 80% circulating right now. So it's not like as bad as SUI, but like looking at SUI, it's only 27% circulating. If you want more examples, I mean, we can basically take like any top 100 coin and just run down the chart, and you will see. Look at Ethereum. Ethereum in its first cycle, it went all the way up to $1,300, came back down to 100. Same thing. Like, again, Ethereum ran back up the next cycle and hit almost $5,000. So I'm not saying that when this comes down, the coin's dead or anything. And this is not at all what I'm trying to insinuate with SUI either. It's just usually with these big, like, layer one type tokens, they always get crushed their first cycle. And like BNB honestly is the one that's held up the best, but even still, it came back down to $200 from a high of like almost 700. Cardano is probably another shining example here. Let's look at Cardano. Same type of thing. Hits its first cycle, it hits a high of $1, comes back down to what, 4 cents? Same. Like, I could go on and on and on. Like, there's probably all of these have the same exact like kind of fact pattern here. So I'm not gonna beat the dead horse on this, but what I am trying to show you guys is that like this is not unique at all. And so what I'm hoping is that if you guys are invested in SUI, like, don't marry your bags. Even if you have some like what I would consider some deranged notion that SUI is not going to drop 90+% in this upcoming bear market, fine. Then like only sell 80% of your bags and hang on to 20, and then that 20% will wither away to almost nothing. But at least you have 80% that you can go in and rebuy if you truly are like a SUI believer and you think that it is going to be the winner. So again, obviously the past is no indication of the future. This is not financial advice, anything like that. I'm just showing you what we've seen. Like, this is tale as old as time. Super, super low circulating supply, super, super massive diluted valuation. We run through, the bull market. This market cap gets to what most people would consider a reasonable market cap. Let's say 58 billion, 80 billion, 100 billion even. But the fully diluted market cap is like some astronomical number that this project could realistically never hope to support in a bear market. Unlocks come, people dump it like crazy, and it goes down 90+%. That's what happens. So anyway, again, not financial advice, but hopefully like me talking about this and pointing this out to you, especially for those of you who this might be your first cycle and you might be new to crypto, please keep an eye on this, because I guarantee you this will save you thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars, depending on how well you do in this bull market. always just please keep an eye on that. Secure your bags on the way up and just don't get too greedy, because I guarantee you will give it all back if you get too greedy. So anyway, one thing I want to do, this is kind of my like overall warning, I guess, for not even just SUI, but kind of most of these like new blockchains in this bull market. I actually might create a video that kind of is talking about this kind of more generally, not just related to SUI overall, but just kind of more generally the like new Gen 3 blockchains, I think is what they're calling them. But it's just something that I want to point out. What I did want to do is just go over a quick kind of overall market update, kind of from price action that we're seeing on Bitcoin and what liquidation levels and things like that look like. What we can see, you know, on Margex is basically I do all of my charting here. I've been charting Bitcoin for the past several months, and what we can see is I think it's pretty much indisputable at this point. We have broken through this descending channel. We have, you know, we're on our way up. This is kind of all what we were hoping for. We still are seeing the higher highs, higher lows. We have not yet seen a pullback. It has looked like, you know, potentially like at this point and at this point, and, you know, now maybe even here, it is looking like we might be seeing some sort of pullback here soon. I would imagine that we probably are either hitting this line of support or this line of support. Maybe, I mean, if it's just a super tiny pullback, maybe we even just bounce off one of these top lines of kind of the descending channel. It's really hard to say, but I do think kind of soon we will see that. However, given kind of the, I would say, in my opinion, somewhat relatively unexpected updates with the election of things looking a little bit maybe less close than what people might have expected. And I think things are looking a little bit more bullish for Trump than maybe what was expected, and certainly better than what we've seen, at least based on, you know, polling in 2020 and 2016. I do think we might be starting to see people trying to front run kind of this like Trump wins the election meta, just because this is a pretty aggressive move to the upside, given that we haven't seen the election happen yet. So it is possible that, you know, maybe we do see this start to come back down. If we do look at the RSI, we can see that it kind of has been sitting up at the very, very top of this overbought kind of indicator. So, you know, it is very, very likely that I think we see kind of some pullback here at some point. When that happens, I don't know for sure. How far it pulls back, I don't know. But I do think that this is something that, you know, we're going to be seeing. I've wanted to take some trade on the way up, but just given what we're seeing, it's just not a great place to take a trade, right? I have taken a couple super, super tiny shorts. Basically, all of them have gotten liquidated just because we have been going up. But that's why I'm keeping them very small, just because, again, it's kind of gambling, trying to time the top, right? And so whenever there's not like a super strong structure to play, you just probably shouldn't do it. But I like trying to, like, you know, see if I can do it anyway. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Usually the ones that work typically offset all the ones that don't. So, you know, if you are interested in trading leverage, feel free to use the link in the description below. It is for Margex. You can get up to $10,000 of sign-up bonuses, as well as no KYC or VPN required. So if that is something you're interested in, feel free to go check that out. The last thing I want to look at, kind of in tandem with the Bitcoin chart that we were just looking at, is the exchange liquidation map. And what we can see on the 1 day is we actually are relatively balanced-ish. I mean, all of these charts, I'll just spoil it right now, is probably a lot of you, especially the ones who have been listening to the channel, may imagine. All of them are probably going to be, they're all biased towards liquidating longs. However, this one is a little bit more even than what I would have expected. We can see that there is kind of a decent bit on both sides, but if we look at the 7 and then also the 30-day, we can see a massive bias towards liquidating longs. Here's something that I have started to think about, though. It's because obviously, again, looking back at the chart, we can see as price starts to move up, we do start to see these liquidation levels really, really start to stack up and become very like lopsided towards one direction. And historically, this has worked very, very well for us. And I do still think that like we will see a move to the downside, even if to just kind of like start to liquidate some of these and close out the leverage here. I do think that is still a possibility. However, what's hard for me to say is when we start to like go parabolic, and, you know, if we zoom this out here, you know, we start hitting, you know, 80s, 100, you know, maybe even like 110, 120. Like, I would imagine, I think it would be a pretty safe assumption to make that we're going to start to see a ridiculous amount of shorts come, or longs come into the market, because the market's going to go start going crazy, right? And so this is what I'm trying to grapple with, is like, how long does this kind of metric that we've been using and what I would say using to really, really great effectiveness so far, how long does this kind of continue to hold? Because I can see a point in time at which maybe maybe this trend on like the reliability of this metric starts to break. And so that's something I'm starting to think about. Just so you guys are aware, I haven't really made a decision or anything on that yet, but it's just something I'm starting to consider. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe. Like I said, it really, really does help me out. I am trying to hit, I did have a goal of hitting 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think barring some crazy, Bitcoin hitting 120,000 or 100,000 or something by the end of the year, it's looking, more and more unlikely, but I am still going to try and, see at least as close as I can get. And so your support in doing that really, really does help. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, feedback, anything like that, please do drop it in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of my comments. And so if you have anything you want me to see or any questions or, anything like that, that would be the great place to get a hold of me. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.